Imagine a bike landing in the United States with a bold promise, delivering real adventure at a price that almost sounds too good to be true. That's the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. But here's the big question. Does it really have what it takes to shake up a market ruled by giants like the Honda CRF300L, the Yamaha Ténéré 700, and even the KTM 390 Adventure? Or will it just be another exotic machine that sparks curiosity but fails to win over American riders? The Himalayan's new design already shows it means business. Stronger and more modern than the old 411 version, it now comes with a completely new engine called the Sherpa 450. About 40 horsepower at 8,000 revolutions per minute and 29.5 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 revolutions per minute. For an adventure bike at this price point, that's a serious step up. We're talking $5,799 to $6,399 MSRP in the US, putting it right next to the Honda CRF300L, which costs around $5,749, but only delivers 27 horsepower. And here's the first big twist. The Himalayan gives you more power, more torque, and a 4.5-gallon tank that stretches past 200 miles of range. The CRF is famously reliable, yes, but it only carries 2.1 gallons and has way less punch for highway riding dock. And that's where the American rider's dilemma comes in. Many want the light, simple Honda, but they also dream about long-distance comfort. At about 432 pounds fully fueled, the Himalayan is definitely heavier. Compared to the CRF's featherweight 311 pounds, yes, it's a chunkier machine. But when you stack it against the Ténéré 700, which costs nearly $11,000 and tips, the scales at over 450 pounds, the Himalayan suddenly looks like a bargain. That's what makes this bike so fascinating. It's a real provocation. Would you give up Honda's legendary reliability or Yamaha's brute strength for a more affordable package that promises a bit of both? And before we dive deeper, here's a quick invite. If you enjoy honest breakdowns of bikes that could actually shake up the American market, hit that subscribe button, because there's a lot more coming your way. Now, let's dig into the details that really matter, how this bike stacks up against each rival in practice, and what strengths and weaknesses will ultimately decide the Himalayan 450's fate in the United States. Asterisk on paper, the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 brings some solid credentials. With its 40 horsepower and 29.5 pound-feet of torque, it sits in a very interesting middle ground. The Honda CRF300L comes in at around 27 horsepower and just under 20 pound-feet of torque. It's a fantastic lightweight dual sport for trails. But when you're on the highway, the Himalayan pulls ahead in both comfort and stamina. Then there's the KTM 390 Adventure R, which squeezes out about 45 horsepower. Yes, it's a bit stronger, and it's lighter too at roughly 388 pounds. Wet. But here's the kicker: the KTM costs close to $7,000, while the Himalayan undercuts it by more than $600 and still gives you a bigger 4.5-gallon tank for better range. Now, let's move up the ladder. The Yamaha Ténéré 700 is a legend in the adventure scene, pumping out about 72 horsepower with that parallel twin. But you'll pay almost $11,000 for it, and it weighs just a touch more than the Himalayan at around 459 pounds. So you get massive power and proven reliability, but at nearly double the price. Finally, the Kawasaki Versys 650LT, a more street-focused machine. It's smooth, roomy, and has a big 5.5-gallon tank. But at over $10,000 and with a 17-inch front wheel, it's not built for real off-road like the Himalayan with its 21/17 setup and long travel. Showa suspension. This is where the Himalayan starts to carve out its identity. It's not trying to outgun the Ténéré on horsepower, and it won't beat the CRF on weight. But for under $6,400, you get a bike that blends serious range, real adventure hardware, and approachable performance. Add in the 3-year unlimited mileage, warranty with roadside assistance, and suddenly Royal Enfield is making a strong pitch to American riders who are cautious about trying a brand they might not fully trust yet. But here's the catch: weight and reputation still hang heavy. At over 430 pounds, the Himalayan can feel clumsy in tighter trails where CRF300L dances effortlessly. And while Honda and Yamaha have spotless records in the US, Royal Enfield is still proving itself. Will American riders overlook that if the value is undeniable? That's the tension that makes this bike worth talking about. So let's move forward and tackle the bigger question. Can the Himalayan 450 really redefine the entry-level adventure class in America, or will it stay in the shadow of its more established rivals? Asterisk. So here's where everything comes together. The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 isn't just another budget bike, it's a statement. At $5,799 to $6,399, it delivers more power than the Honda CRF300L, more range than the KTM 390 Adventure R, and true off-road geometry that the Kawasaki Versys can't match. It doesn't touch the Yamaha Ténéré 700 in raw strength, but it also doesn't drain your bank account with an $11,000 price tag. For American riders, that creates a real choice. If you're looking for lightweight simplicity, the CRF still wins. If you want razor-sharp off-road performance with a bit of flair, the KTM might be your tool. If you crave middleweight muscle for endless interstate miles, the Ténéré 700 is king. And if you want smooth sport touring comfort, the Versys 650 delivers. But if your dream is a bike that can commute during the week, hit dirt trails on the weekend, and still handle a 200-mile road trip without costing a fortune, the Himalayan 450 suddenly looks like the smartest buy on the market. Of course, nothing is perfect. The Himalayan is heavier than its small displacement rivals, and its 40 horsepower won't impress riders who are used to the punch of a twin-cylinder adventure bike. And yes, Royal Enfield still has to win over US buyers who wonder if it can. Stand shoulder to shoulder with Honda or Yamaha when it comes to long-term reliability. But maybe that's the point. The Himalayan 450 isn't trying to dominate with specs alone, it's trying to dominate with balance. Enough power to cruise at highway speeds, enough comfort to ride all day, enough tech like its TFT dash with Google Maps integration, keep up with modern expectations, and enough value to make you stop and think, why am I paying almost twice as much for a Ténéré 700 or a Versys when this bike covers 80% of what I need? So, will it dominate the American market? Maybe not in sheer numbers, but it could very well become the go-to adventure bike for riders stepping into the segment, those who want something affordable, approachable, and versatile. And that alone could make it the entry-level ADV benchmarked in the US. Now the question is yours. Would you put your money on the Himalayan 450? Would you give up your trusted CRF or even consider trading your Ténéré 700 for something half the price, but full of promise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know if you think this underdog has what it takes. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. We've got plenty more no-nonsense comparisons and deep dives into the bikes that could change the way Americans ride.